We're jumping right into a deeply moving story today, one that really pushes the boundaries of human endurance, love, and absolute sacrifice. We're always talking about success, right? Like bank accounts, career milestones, all those standard metrics. But this explainer, it's going to force us to totally redefine what it actually means to be wealthy. It's about a widow, her young son, and their desperate daily struggle for survival in a small village. A struggle that ended up teaching their entire community what true abundance really looks like. We're going to break down the psychology of scarcity and see how extreme hardship can sometimes forge the absolute strongest human bonds.
Okay, let's dive into this. The entire emotional anchor of this family's life boils down to one single, powerful guiding principle. They were reeling from a massive loss. The father had passed away, plunging Amon and his mother into sudden, severe poverty. But instead of just giving up, Amon's mother adopted this incredible mantra. Son, one who works hard never loses, and she'd say it with a smile. She was completely masking her own grief just to give her kid a foundation of hope. It wasn't just some empty optimism, it was literally their survival strategy and the absolute bedrock for everything Amon was about to endure.
To really get the stakes here, we have to look at the heartbreaking reality of their everyday life. Amon was only 12 years old. Think about that. Most kids his age are just focused on playing and going to school, but Amon was suddenly thrust into the role of provider. Every single morning, long before the sun even came up, he was out delivering newspapers house to house. And that tiny bit of money from the paper route, that was barely keeping the household afloat. It was a totally fragile existence where one missed day of work meant they just wouldn't eat. And this brilliantly illustrates the crushing reality they were dealing with. The sheer weight of their poverty all comes down to a single, devastating number: 2. On one specific day, Amon worked incredibly hard. A grueling, exhausting day. But all that maximum effort, it only bought exactly enough flour to make 2 rotis. Just 2 simple flatbreads for their entire daily sustenance. When you put it into that perspective, when a child's full day of labor equals just 2 pieces of bread, it really hits you how severe their situation actually was. So what happens at the dinner table that night is the absolute emotional turning point of the whole story. The mother cooks the 2 rotis, one for her, one for Amon. But Amon is sharp, right? He notices she's been essentially starving herself for days just so he can eat. So, without saying a single word, he breaks his 1 roti and puts half on her plate. And his mom? She tries to protect him from the harsh reality. She forces a smile and says she isn't hungry, but Amon sees right through it. He knows she's lying. And in that exact moment of silent, mutual sacrifice, both of them literally willing to starve so the other could eat, Amon's entire worldview shifts forever.
That realization, the fact that his mom is actively starving for him, it's a massive catalyst. He doesn't complain, he just takes action. He realizes his morning paper route isn't cutting it, so he goes all out. He keeps the morning deliveries, then after school, he heads straight out for heavy manual labor in the agricultural fields. When evening hits, is he resting? No way. He's at the local shops hauling heavy goods. And finally, late at night when he should be passing out from exhaustion, he is completely dedicated to his studies. This is literally a 12-year-old boy waging an all-out war against poverty.
But here's a really crucial takeaway. That kind of persistent, unbelievable effort, it rarely goes completely unnoticed. Amon's absolute relentless dedication, juggling back-breaking labor with school, caught the eye of a village teacher. This teacher saw a spark, a sheer force of will in Amon that just couldn't be ignored. Realizing the financial burden was eventually going to crush the kid's academic potential, the teacher steps in and quietly pays Amon's school fees. It's such a vital intervention. It shows how pure hard work can attract exactly the kind of help you need to keep going.
Let's move to and see how this builds over the long term. We're compressing a lot of time here, but it's a beautiful trajectory of triumph. Step 1 is just years of that persistent, grueling struggle and intense studying. Step 2, we see Amon growing from that burdened 12-year-old into a fiercely resilient young man. And then, step 3 is the ultimate payoff. He achieves what must have felt absolutely impossible on that night they only had 2 pieces of bread. He passes his exams and gets appointed as a high-ranking officer. The kid who hauled goods in the dark completely rewrote his family's destiny.
Which brings us to the emotional climax of the story. A man gets his very first salary as an officer, and he comes back to his village. But he doesn't just bring back money, he brings back hot rotis. He places them right in front of his mother. Think about the profound symbolism there. He is directly answering that traumatic childhood night of starvation with absolute abundance. He brings back the physical reward, sure, but more importantly, he brings what his mother actually values.
And spoiler alert, it isn't the physical bread, and it isn't the prestige of his new job. So, the crucial point is captured perfectly in her reaction. With tears streaming down her face, she looks at the food, looks at her boy, and says, "Today, my greatest wealth is not these rotis, but my son." All those years ago, she sacrificed her own food, truly believing that hard work never loses. Now, standing right in front of her is the living embodiment of that belief. She recognizes that the money and the food are just byproducts. Her true masterpiece, her real wealth, is the character of the man standing in front of her. And Amon, holding his mother's hand, closes the loop on their shared history. He tells her, "Mother, you stayed hungry to feed me. From today, your plate will never be empty." It is an incredibly powerful promise. It acknowledges every silent sacrifice she ever made, and it vows that their era of scarcity is permanently over. He is using his newly acquired power and status for the single best reason possible, to shield the person who shielded him. The whole village witnessed this, and it completely shifted their collective understanding. True wealth, as perfectly demonstrated by Amon and his mother, is a state of abundance defined not by financial riches, but by the unconditional love, the shared struggle, and the deep sacrifice between a parent and a child. Money can buy the flour, and money can buy the hot rotis, but it absolutely cannot buy the devotion that compels a starving child to share his last piece of bread, or a mother to silently endure hunger for her son's future. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. What is the true wealth in your life? Who are the people who have silently sacrificed for your journey? And how are you honoring them today? Just take a second to reflect on that. And if this story of Amon and his mother touched your heart, be sure to like this explainer, share it with your friends and family to spread the inspiration, and definitely subscribe to the Dilse Story channel for more deeply moving, heart-touching stories just like this one. Keep learning, keep reflecting, and I'll see you next time.